in Hebrew is Yahweh, in the name of his only begotten Son, whose true name in the ancient Hebrew is Yahweh Shai, and the Holy Spirit, which is the Rakah Kwadash. Double honors to the elders, a great millstone, GMS, who taught us his truth. Honors to the brothers, risking their life and freedom to push the gospel. Peace and blessings to the elect, which will consist of the so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, and Seminole Indians, who make up the lost 12 tribes of Israel, according to scripture and according to prophecy. But the elect will be 1/3 of the Israelites who will return back to the Most High during these last days, which is happening now, to receive salvation. While the 2/3 of Israel who don't turn back to the Most High in time will be destroyed with America. And that's all according to prophecy. We back with another lesson through the mercy of Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua. Lesson is going to be titled something like Esau Edom, the white man, is being chased out of the world. He's being chased out of the world. Now the whole world is in an uproar against Esau Edom, the so-called white man. The whole world is either rioting or protesting or rebelling against Esau Edom, the so-called white man. They rioting and protesting because of his policies, sanctions, tariffs, the way the government is handling the people, job loss, unemployment, poverty increasing, lack of health insurance, his policies as far as immigration and how he's handling the immigrants, they war crimes over there in Gaza and Palestine, the war because of Ukraine and Russia. So the whole world is in the uproar against Esau Edom, the white man, for one reason or another. That's why the scriptures say, when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. Not to mention, over the past year, you had Africa and other countries in the East kicking all of the Americans out of their country. They destroying U.S. embassies. They want America and Europe to get their military bases out of their countries. So Esau, the white man, is being chased out of the world. And the newest one, which is about a month old now, is down there in Mexico. So-called Mexicans, which are the tribe of Issachar, they chasing Esau Edom, the white man, up out of Mexico. Now, we're going to explain, but let's get this first video. Let's start by giving all praises to the Most High, whose true name in the ancient Hebrew is Yahweh, in the name of his only begotten Son. Man, YouTube tripping. What is they got going on? Yahweh Shai, and the Holy Spirit, which in the ancient Hebrew is the Rakah. The fuck?
Ciudad Mexico, guys, aka the New Brooklyn. You know why they're calling it the New Brooklyn? Gentrification. A lot of Americans are moving over there and calling themselves expats. They're getting remote jobs and then they're moving to Mexico City. As a result, housing prices in certain neighborhoods have shot up and local businesses are actually shifting to meet new, often foreign, demands. Remember what we talked about the salsa not being as spicy anymore in Mexico City. Why? Because, most Americans...
They had to tone it down.
Los Mexicanos, what do they feel about this?
So that was the point. She said right now Mexico is experiencing gentrification. And we got that definition pulled up. Gentrification is a process where a historically low income neighborhood experiences an influx of higher income residents. So you got a lot of people, um, they work for home or their jobs, is online so they can live elsewhere outside of the US. Got a bunch of Edomites want to live in Mexico where it's cheaper. So again, historically low income neighborhoods experiences the influx of higher income residents, American citizens, and particularly the so-called white man, leading to an increased property value, new development, and potential displacement of existing residents. Now that happens over here in the ghettos. The ghetto where property value, property taxes are low, and then the so-called white man, he'll tear down the old houses, build up new communities. He'll put a Planet Fitness, a Chick-fil-A, a Starbucks, you know, healthier grocery stores like a Whole Foods, maybe a Chipotle, like that. And then they start moving their people in, start, repairing the roads, make it look a little nicer, and it drives the property value way up. Then the people who stayed in that used to be, the ghetto, they can't afford it now, forcing them people out. And that's taking place in Mexico. And as you continue, it often involves physical changes like renovations and new constructions. Yeah, again, they Americanize it. They probably put a Starbucks, a Chipotle, a Chick-fil-A, stuff that white people like. It says in the shift in the neighborhood's social and cultural character. Like she said even the salsa is not as spicy as it used to be. Why? Because they toned it down for the influx of American people coming to the city. And then she said, now you hear American music all over the place. They Americanize it. They put things in there that Americans are familiar with, or they put things there that only Americans can afford. But again, leading to an increase in property value. And the so-called Mexicans, who's native to that place, now they struggling to meet, you know, the demands of a higher cost of living. Now they being shut and out of their own city. But since we got that, we're gonna get back to this video. We're gonna play that one more time, then continue. And again, America do that, all over the world. Not just in Mexico, not just in the ghettos. They'll go over there, build a few things, clean it up a little bit, and then they'll jack up the price of living 2, 3 to 4 times over. And what they show and what they say that Mexico City is starting to look like Brooklyn, New York. Because what you see all over the place is Edomites hanging out. Bunch of Americans.
Ciudad Mexico, guys, aka the New Brooklyn. You know why they're calling it the New Brooklyn? Gentrification. A lot of Americans are moving over there and calling themselves expats. They're getting remote jobs and then they're moving to Mexico City. As a result, housing prices in certain neighborhoods have shot up and local businesses are actually shifting to meet new, often foreign, demands.
Also, too, they start building American businesses and companies over there in Esau the white man. They start having businesses and opening companies over there. And what it'll do, the Mexicans that's native to that land, they'll go out of business. They start to lose business. Their business will go under. All because the white man came over there, Americanizing everything. That'll happen too. Certain people, mom and pop shops, they'll go out of business.
What we talked about the salsa not being as spicy anymore in Mexico City. Why? Because, most Americans, they had to tone it down. Los Mexicanos, what do they feel about this?
What you see is the so-called Native Mexicans. They protesting and vandalizing parts of the city that's been Americanized, going after American business, American establishments, places where your white Edomites usually be. Which we gonna see more of this. But yeah, after this commercial, we gonna jump forward in this video and we gonna show a little more. And then we got about 4 more videos we're gonna get into. But Issachar is over there getting with these Americans. We about to show it.
Did y'all know they over in Mexico tearing white people's asses up right now? If you don't believe me, you can go look it up. But the Mexicans that are in Mexico are literally coming after people who are claiming to be nomads. You know, all those boomers who have now retired and are looking for a cheaper place to live with their retirement. They decided to go to Mexico and try to gentrify Mexico. And they said, no, sir, no, ma'am. The Mexican people are going through their cities where they've built all these places of shops and restaurants, and they are breaking everything. They are blaming this boomer generation and these digital nomads for the reasons why the price of living is going up. They say that over the last 5 years, just rent alone has gone up 43% because of them. They said that because of them, they are now having to choose between groceries, rent, and electricity. And they didn't waste no time telling them, get the fuck out. They even said they was coming on their beaches telling them that their mariachi bands can't play their music.
Now that's some pride. Now the mariachi band playing music on the beach. So what it is, for those who are familiar with it, it's quite the experience. I just heard about it from my so-called Mexican friends. But when you out there on your boat on the water, you got other boats that come up and they'll play live music next to your boat. And they'll also give you free mixed drinks, or oh, they're not free, but from the mariachi bands, they'll play music for you, but you can also get drinks and food from them. But Esau out there on they beach telling them they mariachi band can't play no music. Hey, and this same thing is going on in Africa right now, South Africa. That's why Trump is allowing white Edomite South Africans to come over here into the U.S. Because again, Esau, even the white man, is being chased out of the world. Everybody trying to get away from this devil. Everybody trying to kick this devil up out of their country.
The nerve! That's a cultural thing that's been going on there forever. Why would you think you get to go to someone else's country and tell them what to do? There was even one of the protesters who was quoted stating, this is how colonialism works, and we're going to put a stop to it before it ever even happens, honey.
They saying out with gringos. Gringos pretty much is a foreigner, especially when talking about a so-called white person. You call them a gringo.
was 4th of July, but America.
Yeah, but that's the first video. Mexico is experiencing gentrification, so the residents is trying to get them up out of the country. So we're gonna start with this next video, just to show more of the protest and rioting against these white Edomite Americans.
Gente que viene de otros países, en su mayoría extranjeros, a querer imponer su cultura, sus precios y desplazar a los
You
mexicanos.
see that? Kill a gringo. Yeah, kill a gringo.
A los mexicanos, a los nativos de estas tierras.
Lo digo porque la gentrificación solo es un paso más a la colonización, a los despojos y a que exploten nuestros recursos. Tema anticapitalista, antipatriarcal, anticlasista, proletaria.
En 5 años las rentas han subido 47%. Eso es algo violento para la población local. Nosotros nos estamos debatiendo entre pagar la luz, pagar el agua o comer. Entonces, por supuesto que preferimos comer.
Aunque aún tenga el sueño de querer un departamento donde vivir sola, pues realmente va a ser difícil.
Mexican citizens protest.
But yeah, that's that video. We got one more for now, so we're gonna get to that. See, I just knew they had a Starbucks out there. I said they go to the ghetto or they go to Mexico. What they gonna put there? A Starbucks, a Chick-fil-A, a Planet Fitness, a Chipotle. See that? They threw fireworks at a Starbucks. But yeah, that's it, man. Pretty much making it hard for them to live there. But we're going to get into the scriptures real quick. We're going to deal with this one. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 33, verse 1. What you doing? Woe to thee that spoilest, and thou was not spoiled. That's Esau eating the white man. He just go all over the earth, spoiling everybody and everything. And dealeth treacherously, and they deal not treacherously with thee. So everybody welcome this devil. Everybody will let Esau into their country, into their way of doing things, and Esau deal treacherously with them. Kill them, take their resources, exploit them, underpay them. It says, when thou shalt cease to spoil you, thou shalt be spoiled. When thou shalt make to an end to deal treacherously, they shall deal treacherously with thee. So when Esau will begin to seek peace etc., then the nations will begin to deal treacherously with him. Because what's going on in America? You know, you got Trump, the U.S. government, ICE, trying to deport all of the so-called Mexicans. So the Mexicans down there in Mexico, like, okay, y'all don't want us to come to America, but why y'all coming to Mexico? So they returning the favor. America want to get all of the Mexicans out of America, but now Mexicans down there in Mexico want to get the so-called white people who are the Edomites out of their country. So they dealing treacherously back with Esau eating the white man. And this is happening all over the world. So now we're going to come back here to the book of Jeremiah, chapter 51, verse 7. Babylon, which is America, have been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all of the earth drunken. All of the nations have drunken of her wine. And that represent her what? Her philosophies, her policies. All the nations, you know, in a way became Americanized. Or they let America and their policies and their military into their country. It says, therefore the nations are mad. So what's the result of the nations being mad? They trying to chase Esau up out of their country. They don't want no military presence there. They don't want no U.S. embassy there. They don't even want no white Americans there in general. They're trying to completely separate from this devil. Because what Esau brings, LGBTQT, he brings feminism. And that does what? It feminizes the man and it breaks up the family structure. Because now women be career driven and obsessed with money and power and having control and authority over the man. Not only that, you bring American culture, which is lewd, you know, gentrification. You drive up property taxes, you drive up the cost of living, you impose your culture over the people's culture. They get shut out of their communities because they can't afford it. You put so many people out of business because you start building up your establishments there. And then you exploit the people for their resources. You take advantage of their economy because the US dollar is still a stronger currency than most. So you go over there, buy up everything, and it doesn't benefit the people at all. It's to the benefit of the American people that's over there, or rather they over here. So again, Babylon have been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all of the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. That's what Mexico is experiencing. They drunk the wine of Babylon, you know, her policies, her philosophies, Latin America and Americans in a country. Now they mad. Now they want to separate. And then when you come here to the book of Psalms, chapter 64, verse 8, so they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves. All that see them shall flee away. What does that mean? Their tongue shall fall upon themselves. They a lie. They say one thing and then go back on their word. Like for example, all the so-called Mexicans, you know, that's over here seeking citizenship. You let these people over here and work and establish themselves in America for all these years. Now you want to force deport them. That's their tongue falling upon themselves. You let them schedule a court date so they could continue the process of obtaining their citizenship. They come to find out when they come to court, you know, with their papers, ICE is there waiting on them. So you setting up the people. And through the birthright citizenship, even if both your parents are not U.S. citizens, if they have a baby on American soil, that baby is considered a U.S. citizen because it was born on American soil. Now you want to take that away. That's their tongue falling upon themselves. And it says what? All that see them shall flee away. Now everybody see that he's the devil. He's the one with the split tongue. He'll say one thing, mean something else. He'll say one thing, then go back on it. Now again, it says all that see them shall flee away, meaning the people will want to separate from this devil. And that's what the Mexicans are doing down there in Mexico. They trying to flee away. But let's look at this phrase, flee away, in Hebrew. And let's see what else that is saying. H5074. So all that see them shall flee away. It says to retreat, to depart. Let's get this over here to the right, Lord willing. Let's see what it means to depart. We know what it means, but let's get it anyway. Depart. To leave. Pretty much to leave. They trying to lead this devil. It says to flee away, to be chased. To chase away. To be chased away. So that's what's happening, that so-called Mexicans in Mexico, they trying to flee away from this devil. How are they fleeing away? By chasing him away. Because we went to this phrase, shall flee away, and what popped up? It said to retreat, to flee, to depart, to wander, to stray. It says to chase away, to be chased away. Who's being chased? Esau, even the so-called white man, not just out of Mexico, but really all over the world. And that's why when we come to the book of Job, chapter 18, verse 16, it goes into the judgment of Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. So Esau being chased out of the world, nobody want to have any dealings with him. Nobody want to even look at him no more. That's the beginning of their judgment. Because this sums it up right here. Job 18:16, his roots shall be dried up beneath, and above his branch shall be cut off. This is how you kill or destroy a tree, that it doesn't come back. Except this is not a regular tree. This will be a family tree. This will be a nation, a bloodline of people. And it's dealing with Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. His remembrance shall perish from the earth. So don't nobody want to remember this devil. They don't want to see him, not a Starbucks, not a Chick-fil-A, not a Planet Fitness. None of that. It says he shall have no name in the street. Meaning what? Even genetically, this is an extermination, a genocide. There's not going to be a trace of him nowhere in the earth. It says he shall be driven from light into darkness and chased out of the world. What people is being chased out of the world right now? It ain't by coincidence that American embassies are being attacked, evacuated, military bases are being attacked, people chasing the American, French, and German militaries out of their country. They don't want to do no business with them, no trade. They don't make no more deals, no more agreements with them. They protesting against the white man and his foreign policy on trade, tariffs, sanctions, his war crimes. And other white people are protesting against them, especially all over Europe. Now Mexico is doing it. He's being chased out of the world. Then again, Psalm 64:8, all that see them shall flee away. You can flee many ways. You can depart, you can stray, you can wander away. But when we went into that phrase, it says to be chased away. So Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, is being chased out of the world. He's a problem everywhere that he goes. But That's why we got Jeremiah 51:7. It says, the nations have drunken of her wine. Who is this her? Lady Liberty America, the great whore. Therefore, the nations are mad. They've awakened. Um, they realizing that Esau, even the white man, everything that he does, that he brings, he's a liar, a murderer, a thief. Everything about him is a scam. He shall be driven from light into darkness and chased out of the world. So that's the point. He's being chased out of the world. And that's really no different when you go back thousands of years ago. Because the scriptures tell you what? There's nothing new under the sun. Now, how Esau is being chased out of the world now, that happened a long time ago. And we're going to show that real quick. That's not what I'm trying to do. Bear with me 1 minute. And we can get this in the book of Job. So we're going to start here. This is the book of Job, chapter 30. We're going to start at verse 5 to go straight to the point. It says, they were driven forth from among men. They cried after them as after a thief. That's happening now with Esau Edom, the so-called white man, but this happened way back then too. That's how he became a caveman. So again, Esau Edom, the white man, was driven forth from among men. They cried after them as after a thief. So everybody chased them out of their cities, chased them out of society in general, and they dwelt in the caves. That's why it says to dwell in the cliffs of the valleys, in the caves of the earth, and in the rocks. Now, when we get this in the NLT, Job 30:5, they are driven from human society, and people shout at them as if they were thieves. And that's what the people doing. And you taking over our land, you taking our resources, you taking our income, you taking away our lands and our ability to provide for ourselves and our family. You taking over our country. See that? The people shout at them as if they were thieves. It's happening all over again. So now they live in frightening ravines and in caves among the rocks. That's how he became a caveman before. You go, and that's the point there. But people cried and chased after them as they're a thief, and that's what they are. They a thief. Because what it really is, that's the beginning of colonial. Oh, I can't even say it. Colonization. They want to Americanize Mexico and force the Mexicans up out of their land. But back to the book of Job 18:18, he shall be driven from light into darkness and chased out of the world. Now we're going to show that this is a worldwide thing. I got 2 quick videos, and you see the title here. Trump announced travel ban and restrictions on 19 countries.
President Trump imposing a travel ban to the U.S. on a dozen countries and partial restrictions on entry to the U.S. from several more. Our chief White House correspondent, Mary Bruce, has the story for us. Good morning, Mary.
So, travel ban and restrictions on 19 countries. So, what we got to understand is Trump don't want people from these certain countries coming into America. But the opposite is also true. Trump don't want American people going to these countries either. Now let's get this other part of the video.
National security concerns.
The ban mostly impacting travelers from the Middle East and Africa, including Afghanistan, Burma, also known as Myanmar, Chad, the Republic of the Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Eritrea, Haiti, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Yemen. Another
I guess you gotta add Mexico to that list now.
countries facing partial travel restrictions. People from Burundi, Cuba, Laos, Sierra Leone, Togo, Turkmenistan, and Venezuela will now be unable to come to the U.S. permanently or get.
So these people can't come to the U.S. at least permanently, but Trump is advising American citizens to not go to these countries as well, for safety concerns. And when Trump issued travel ban and restrictions for American citizens, that goes for white American citizens. It's them that's being targeted and chased out of the world. Not the African Americans, not the Mexican Americans, not the Native Americans, but the white Americans. That's who the travel bans and restrictions are for. So that was 19 countries, but when you look at this title, also a month ago, Trump administration weighs in on adding 36 additional countries to the travel ban. So 36 more countries is not safe for you white Americans to be. So the days of these luxury cruises and vacations all over the world coming to an end. You're being chased out of the world. Getting to the point that can't nobody even stand to look at you.
The Trump administration may add dozens more countries to a recent ban prohibiting entry into the U.S. President Trump is considering adding 36 new countries to an entry ban list based on U.S. State Department considerations. A report says the U.S. State Department has concerns other countries are not adhering to U.S. screening and security thresholds. The State Department wants a bench.
So again, it's a ban from those people from coming to America, but Trump is advising American citizens, in particular white American citizens, to not go to those countries either. But that's why when you get the book of Job, chapter 20, verse 27, the heavens shall reveal his iniquity and the earth shall rise up against him. That's why you had the ICE raid and deportation protests going about a month and a half back. That's why you had the Black Lives Matter protests a few years back. And then all over Europe, they've been protesting and rioting, I can't tell you for how many years straight now. People protesting because of the federal government and the state government layoffs. People protesting worldwide, free Palestine, for the war crimes that's happening against them in Gaza. All over Europe, they protesting against the war between Ukraine and Russia. So the earth shall rise up against him. You got Edomites being attacked by animals. You got floods that's targeting white American cities, sundown towns. Them same cities is also being burnt up by these wildfires. So the earth shall rise up against him, rising up against his policies, rising up against his presence. Yeah, so the earth is rising up against him. Now Mexico is on the list. They might as well throw Mexico on the list for a country to not travel to. So yeah, now, hey, the country of Mexico rising up against them. But we're going to go back to the book of Job 18 and 18. We're going to tie this together and prove that it's talking about Esau being chased out of the world. So when you get 18 again, he shall be driven from light into darkness and chased out of the world. Now this is the hint. He shall neither have son or nephew among his people, nor any remaining in his dwellings. So the house of Esau, there's going to be none remaining. Not one survivor of the house of Esau. So again, he's going to be chased out of the world and have neither son or nephew, nor any remaining in his dwellings. Now this is Obadiah 1 and 18. The house of Jacob shall be a fire, the house of Joseph a flame, the house of Esau for stubble. They shall kindle in them and devour them, and there shall be there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for the Lord hath spoken it. See that? Just tying together, proving Job 18 is dealing with Esau. He will be chased out of the world, have neither son or nephew, nor any remaining in his dwellings. And again, Obadiah 1 and 18, there shall not be any remaining in the house of Esau. So this is I won't say the beginning of his judgment, but his judgment is in motion. He's being chased out of the world, and eventually, through World War III, he's going to be obliterated. And then you got more events that happen in the kingdom of heaven, but after, a certain amount of time, Edomites are going to go extinct. So he's being chased out of the world right now, just like he did many years ago when he ended up in them caves. Because again, the people shout at them as if they were thieves, because that's what they are. But that's the lesson. Lord willing is informative and edifying. Till next time, Shalom.